Okay, let's continue to read with Ezekiel chapter 39. Son of man, prophecy against Gog, and say, This is what the sovereign Lord says. I am against you, O Gog, chief prince of Meshech and Tabul. I will turn you around and drag you along. I will bring you from the far north and send you against the mountains of Israel. Then I will strike you. I will strike your bow from your left hand and make your arrows drop from your right hand. On the mountains of Israel you will fall, you and all your troops and the nations with you. I will give you as food to all kinds of carrion birds and to the wild animals. You will fall in the open field, for I have spoken, declares the sovereign Lord. I will send fire on Magog and all those who live in safety in the coastlands, and they will know that I am the Lord. I will make known my holy name among my people Israel. I will no longer let my holy name be profaned, and the nations will know that I, the Lord, am the Holy One in Israel. It is coming. It will surely take place, declares the sovereign Lord. This is the day I have spoken of. Then those who live in the towns of Israel will go out and use the weapons for fuel and burn them up, the small and large shields, the bows and arrows, the war clubs and spears. For 7 years they will use them for fuel. They will not need to gather wood from the fields or cut it from the forest, because they will use the weapons for fuel, and they will plunder those who plundered them and loot those who looted them, declares the sovereign Lord. On that day I will give Gog a burial place in Israel, in the valley of those who travel east toward the sea. It will block the way of travelers, because Gog and all his hordes will be buried there. So it will be called the Valley of Haman Gog. For 7 months the house of Israel will be burying them in order to cleanse the land. All the people of the land will bury them, and the day I am and the day I am glorified will be a memorable day for them, declares the sovereign Lord. Men will be regularly employed to cleanse the land. Some will go throughout the land, and in addition to them, others will bury those that remain on the ground. At the end of the 7 months, they will begin their search. As they go through the land and one of them sees a human bone, he will set up a marker beside it until the gravediggers have buried it in the valley of Haman Gog. Also, a town called Hamanah will be there, and so they will cleanse the land. Son of man, this is what the sovereign Lord says. Call out to every kind of bird and all the wild animals. Assemble and come together from all around to the sacrifice I am preparing for you, the great sacrifice on the mountains of Israel. There you will eat flesh and drink blood. You will eat the flesh of mighty men and drink the blood of the princes of the earth, as if they were rams and lambs, goats and bulls, all of them fattened animals from Bashan. At the sacrifice I am preparing for you, you will eat fat till you are glutted, and drink blood till you are drunk. At my table you will eat your fill of horses and riders, mighty men and soldiers of every kind, declares the sovereign Lord. I will display my glory among the nations, and all the nations will see the punishment I inflict and the hand I lay upon them. From that day forward, the house of Israel will know that I am the Lord their God, and the nations will know that the people of Israel went into exile for their sin, because they were unfaithful to me. So I hid my face from them and handed them over to their enemies, and they all fell by the sword. I dealt with them according to their uncleanness and their offenses, and I hid my face from them. Therefore, this is what the sovereign Lord says. I will now bring Jacob back from captivity and will have compassion on all the people of Israel, and I will be zealous for my holy name. They will forget their shame and all the unfaithfulness they showed toward me when they lived in safety in their land, with no one to make them afraid. When I have brought them back from the nations and have gathered them from the countries of their enemies, I will show myself holy through them in the sight of many nations. Then they will know that I am the Lord their God. For though I sent them into exile among the nations, I will gather them to their own into their own land, not leaving any behind. I will no longer hide my face from them, for I will pour out my spirit on the house of Israel, declares the sovereign Lord. Wow, there's a lot here. Okay. So this is once again talking about that time. This is talking about that Armageddon time, that time where there is going to be a time of where the nations are going to not so much like what is happening. There's going to be a time that the new is going to come up in the New Testament when we get to Revelations. But this is also talking about how the nations felt about Israel during this time, how they were jealous of Israel. They wanted what the blessings that they had, that Israel had, and they were wanting Israel to be defeated. They were into seeing that Israel were laid waste and no longer a nation, because it was at times a reflection of love, and these people didn't want that. And so the Lord is just telling Israel that there will be a time that will come where that all of that wickedness and everything will be done away with, and they will be able to worship him, and he will be their God, and he will say, these are my people, because they will be cleansed completely. He's talking about things that will happen then, because from the exile, like he was mentioning there, when he says, and the nations will know that the people of Israel went into exile for their sin, because they were unfaithful to me. So I hid my face from them and handed them over to their enemies, and they all fell by the sword. I dealt with them according to their uncleanness and their offenses, and I hid my face from them. And so he's telling them this is why, because they were not following my commands. They were unclean, so they went into exile. But they're going to be brought back. They're going to be brought back, and they do. They are brought back to start rebuilding the temple. So this is one prophecy. The next prophecy about that is also a prophecy about the future. The far future, about the, like I just mentioned, the war, like there's like an Armageddon type deal when it comes to wickedness and people who have the faith of believing in the Lord and doing away with sin and wickedness for all eternity. So there is something that is going to be talked about more in the New Testament, and it's something that is talked about as a prophecy, something that will will happen in the future. So it means to happen in the future that we don't know. And so there's a lot there, though, but bringing past to present with these passages, it's listen to what Ezekiel is saying. Therefore, this is what the sovereign Lord says. I will now bring Jacob back from captivity and will have compassion on all the people of Israel, and I will be zealous for my holy name. Meaning that this is just a short time for things to happen, a short time for them to grow, to understand the meaning, to understand that all those good things that they were having, they came from above. They weren't stuff that they themselves brought about. They weren't things that happened because they did something, that they had control over something. And we can see that bringing past to present today. A lot of times when we do something, we do act and we do things for our prosperity. And what sometimes happens is in meaning that in their sayings that go along with that goes to our head, that it goes to your head. And have you seen that? Have you witnessed that? Where there is an accomplishment, instead of being humbled by it, by the accomplishment, and thanking all who are involved, thanking even the Lord, there's just, look at what I have done. We've had a prime example, or we will have a prime example in Daniel, in the book of Daniel. Keep trying to get ahead of us. But in the book of Daniel, we will have a prime example about coming from King Nebuchadnezzar. So that is to come. So, can't wait for that and those Bible studies. So, but we want to take note. We want to see that here is a prophecy that the Lord is providing, saying that He is the faithful Lord and Savior. He is the good shepherd, and He will bring back, not only bring back, but rebuild, do it, and be the provider Himself. Before we go on, though, what kind of thoughts or feelings come to your mind when we read over this? How does it make you feel, and what does it make you think?